In a run-down, cold apartment, Jasmine, a single mother, quietly counted the stack of overdue bills. She opened her wallet and froze. Only $10 left, just enough to buy her daughter breakfast for the week. But one night, on her way home from work, she stopped at a gas station and saw a massive Hells Angels biker struggling to breathe before collapsing to the ground. People stood around whispering, but no one dared to help a biker. Jasmine was different. She spent her last $10 on medicine to save his life, then immediately regretted it, realizing she'd just spent her daughter's food, money. But the next day, 300 bikers lined up outside her door, and her life changed forever. Before we go back, let us know where you're watching from. And subscribe, because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. Jasmine Williams woke up at 4:47 a.m. to the sound of her phone alarm buzzing on the cracked nightstand. She didn't hit snooze. She never did. There wasn't time for that. She dragged herself out of the narrow bed in the tiny apartment she shared with her 7-year-old daughter, Ayana. The place was small, cramped. Even one bedroom for Ayana and Jasmine slept on a pull-out couch in the living room. The walls were thin enough that she could hear the couple next door arguing most nights. The kitchen faucet dripped constantly. The heater barely worked, but it was home for now. Jasmine walked into the kitchen and opened the cabinet. 2 slices of bread left in the bag. She checked the fridge. Half a carton of milk may be enough for one, more bowl of cereal, a few eggs, some butter that was probably expired. She pulled out the bread and dropped both slices into the toaster. While they browned, she poured the last of the milk into a small glass and set it on the table. Then she opened her wallet. One $10 bill, crumpled, worn at the edges. Her last $10. Jasmine stared at it for a long moment, her chest tightening. $10. That was supposed to cover breakfast for Ayana this week. Maybe stretch to a few snacks if she was lucky. Gas money, if the car wasn't broken. Lunch, if there was anything left. But the car was broken. Had been for a month now. Transmission failure. $800 to fix. Money she didn't have. So now she walked. Everywhere. 5 miles to the Riverside Inn, where she cleaned hotel rooms from 7 to 2. 3 more miles to Rosie's Diner, where she washed dishes and served tables, until 10 at night. Then home to bake cookies and brownies she'd sell to neighbors and co-workers the next day for a few extra dollars. 3 jobs, 16-hour days, 7 days a week. And still, it wasn't enough. She folded the bill carefully and slipped it back into her wallet. Her hands were shaking. The toast popped. She buttered both slices, cut them into triangles, and placed them on a plate. Then she walked quietly to Ayana's bedroom and opened the door. Her daughter was still asleep, curled up under a thin blanket, clutching a stuffed bunny that had seen better days. Ayana's face was peaceful, innocent. She had no idea how bad things really were. Jasmine stood there for a moment, watching her breathe, watching her chest rise and fall. Please, God, just let her be okay. She closed the door gently and went back to the kitchen. She looked at the toast on the table. Then she looked at the empty counter where her own breakfast should have been. She didn't make one for herself. There wasn't enough. Jasmine sat down at the table, rested her head in her hands, and took a deep breath. Her stomach growled, but she ignored it. She had been ignoring it for weeks now. This was life now, counting every dollar, stretching every meal, praying that nothing unexpected happened because there was no cushion, no safety net, nothing to fall back on. At 5:30 a.m., Ayana shuffled out of her bedroom in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Her hair was a mess of tight curls, sticking up in every direction. "Morning, Mummy." Jasmine forced a smile. "Morning, baby." Ayana climbed into the chair and looked at the toast and milk. She picked up one triangle and took a small bite. "You're not eating?" Ayana asked, looking up at her. "I already ate, sweetie," Jasmine lied. "You finish all of that, okay? You need energy for school." Ayana nodded and took another bite. Jasmine watched her eat, feeling a sharp pain in her chest that had nothing to do with hunger. After Ayana finished, Jasmine helped her get dressed in clothes that were just a little too small. The girl was growing fast, too fast. Jasmine couldn't keep up. "Mummy, my shoes hurt," Ayana said, looking down at her. "Sneakers." Jasmine knelt down and looked at the shoes. They were tight. Ayana's toes were probably cramped inside. "I know, baby. We'll get you new ones soon." Okay. Soon. Jasmine didn't know when soon would be, but she couldn't tell her daughter that. At 6:15 a.m., Jasmine walked Ayana down the hall to Mrs. Patterson's apartment. Mrs. Patterson was an older white woman, maybe in her 60s, who watched Ayana before school for $5 a week. It was the cheapest childcare Jasmine could find. Mrs. Patterson opened the door, her grey hair pulled back in a bun. She smiled at Ayana but gave Jasmine a long, concerned look. "Morning, Jasmine. You look exhausted." "I'm fine, Mrs. Patterson. Thank you for watching her. You work yourself to death for that little girl. You need to slow down." Jasmine kissed Ayana on the forehead. "Be good." "Okay. I will, Mommy." Jasmine turned and headed down the stairs. She didn't have time to slow down. The day blurred together like it always did. Hotel rooms, dishes, orders, tips. Her feet screaming in those worn-out sneakers with the hole in the left sole. Her hands raw from chemicals and hot water. Her back aching, her mind spinning. The rent notice was taped to her fridge. Bold red letters. Final notice, $300 past due. Pay within 3 days or face eviction. Mrs. Thompson, the landlord, had made it clear. 3 days. That was all Jasmine had left. The electricity bill sat on the counter next to it. Overdue. A shut-off warning printed at the bottom. And then there was Ayana's inhaler. The prescription had run out 2 weeks ago. Jasmine had called the pharmacy. $60 for a refill. $60 she didn't have. Ayana's asthma had been getting worse. The wheezing at night, the shallow breaths, the way her little chest heaved when she tried to get air. Jasmine had been rationing what was left in the old inhaler. One puff here, one puff there, praying it would be enough. But she knew it wouldn't be. Not for long. "I need $300 for rent, $60 for the inhaler, another $80 for the electric bill, and I have $27. The math didn't work. It never did. By the time Jasmine got home that night, it was past 10:30 p.m. She climbed the stairs slowly, every muscle in her body screaming. Mrs. Patterson was waiting inside with Ayana, who was curled up on the couch, half asleep. "She was good today," Mrs. Patterson said quietly. "But Jasmine, she was wheezing again tonight more than usual. You really need to get that inhaler refilled." Jasmine's stomach twisted. "I know. I'm working on it." Mrs. Patterson gave her a sad, knowing look. "Take care of yourself, honey. And that little girl." After Mrs. Patterson left, Jasmine locked the door and knelt down beside the couch. She brushed a hand over Ayana's forehead. "Come on, baby. Let's get you to bed." Jasmine helped her daughter into her pajamas and tucked her into bed. Ayana's breathing was labored, shallow. "Mommy, my chest hurts a little," Ayana whispered. Jasmine's heart clenched. I know, baby. Just try to breathe slow, okay? In and out. Nice and easy. Jasmine reached out and gently stroked Ayana's hair. I'm sorry, baby, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I can't do better for you. She sat there for a long time, just watching her daughter sleep, listening to every breath, praying it wouldn't get worse. Jasmine quietly walked out to the living room, pulled out the old sofa, and slowly sat down. She was shaking, her hands, her legs, everything. She reached for the small journal on the side table, worn, dog-eared, filled with her handwriting. Her grandmother had given it to her years ago, back when things were different. Back when her grandmother was still alive. Write down 3 things you're grateful for every night, baby, her grandmother had said. No matter how hard the day is, kindness costs nothing, and gratitude is the first step to hope. Jasmine opened the journal to a blank page. She picked up the pen. Her hand was still shaking. 3 things I'm grateful for today. She stared at the page for a long time. Finally, she wrote, 1. Ayana is still breathing. 2. Mrs. Patterson only charges $5 a week. 3. I still have $10 left. She closed the journal slowly and set it down. The gratitude felt hollow, forced, but she wrote it anyway because her grandmother had told her to, because it was all she had left. Jasmine lay back on the couch and stared at the ceiling. The apartment was quiet now. The couple next door had finally stopped arguing. All she could think about was the $10 in her wallet, the rent she couldn't pay, the inhaler she couldn't afford, the electricity that would be shut off any day now, and her daughter gasping for air in the middle of the night. Something has to change. Please, God, something has to change. She closed her eyes, but sleep didn't come. The next night, Jasmine's shift at Rosie's diner ran late. A big group came in at 9:30 p.m., and she couldn't leave until they were done. By the time she clocked out, it was nearly 11:00 p.m. She counted her tips. $14. She folded the bills and tucked them into her wallet next to the $10 bill. $24 total. Now, Jasmine stepped out into the cold night air and started walking. The streets were empty, dark, the kind of dark that made her walk faster and keep her head down. She decided to cut through the gas station on Miller Road. It was a shortcut, shaved off about 10 minutes. The area wasn't great. Run down, sketchy, I guess, the kind of place where people didn't ask questions, but it was faster, and she needed to get home. The fluorescent lights above the gas pumps flickered and buzzed as she walked through the parking lot. A few cars sat at the pumps. The convenience store inside glowed bright against the darkness. Jasmine was halfway across the lot when she heard it. A sound, a gasp. She stopped, turned, and saw him. A man, massive, at least 6'3", maybe 250 pounds. He was leaning against a chrome motorcycle under one of the lights, one hand clutching his chest, the other gripping the handlebar. He wore a black leather vest covered in patches, skulls, flames, and right there on his back, clear as day, Hell's Angels. Jasmine's breath caught in her throat. She'd heard stories about guys like him. Everyone had dangerous criminals stay away. The man stumbled, his knees buckled, his hand slipped off the handlebar, and he dropped to the ground, hard. Jasmine froze. The man was on his back now, his face twisted in pain. His breathing came in short, desperate gasps. His lips were turning blue. "Oh God, he's dying!" "Hey!" Jasmine shouted toward the gas station. "Hey! Someone call 911!" In the door to the convenience store swung open. A white guy in his 30s wearing a stained apron stepped outside with a cigarette in his hand. He looked at the man on the ground, then at Jasmine. "Lady, are you crazy?" he said, flicking ash onto the pavement. "That's a Hell's Angel. Leave him alone. He's having a heart attack," Jasmine said, her voice rising. The attendant shrugged. "Not my problem. Those guys are nothing but trouble. Trust me, you don't want to get involved." He turned and walked back, inside. Jasmine stood there, her heart pounding. The man on the ground wasn't moving. His chest barely rose and fell. His face was grey. A car pulled into the lot. An older white man, maybe 60, with a trucker hat and a weathered face, got out and walked toward the store. He saw the scene and stopped. "Miss," he said, walking over to her, "don't do it." "What? Don't help him?" The man's voice was low. "Serious. Guys like that, they're dangerous. You've got a kid, don't you? I can tell. Just walk away. It's not worth it." Jasmine stared at him. "A man is dying." The trucker shook his head. "Maybe, but if you help him, you're bringing trouble into your life. Hell's Angels don't forget, and they don't forgive. You help one, the rest will come looking for you. Is that what you want?" "I walk away," the trucker said, again. Then he got back in his car and drove off. Jasmine stood there alone in the parking lot. The fluorescent lights buzzed above her. The man on the ground gasped for air. She looked down at him. His chest had stopped moving. "He's not breathing anymore." Her hands started shaking. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her wallet. The $10 bill was right there, crumpled, worn. $10. Ayana's breakfast for the week. "That's all I have." She looked at the man, then at the money, then back at the man. Her mind raced. "If I use this money, Ayana goes hungry. If I don't, this man dies." She thought about her grandmother. Years ago, her grandmother had collapsed on a city sidewalk. A stroke. People walked past her. No one stopped. By the time someone finally called for help, it was too late. Jasmine had been 12 years old. When she got that phone call, she'd never forgotten it. She looked at the man's hand. Thick fingers, rough skin, tattoos covering every inch. It looked like her father's hand. Her father who died when she was 16. Her father who used to hold her hand when she was scared. "I can't just walk away. I can't be like them. I can't." Jasmine's chest tightened. Tears stung her eyes. "But Ayana, my baby, she needs this money. She needs me." The man gasped again. A weak, rattling sound. Jasmine closed her eyes. "God, please tell me what to do." And then she heard her grandmother's voice in her head, clear as day. "Kindness costs nothing, baby. And sometimes it's all we got to give." Jasmine opened her eyes. She shoved the wallet back into her pocket and dropped to her knees beside the man. Sir, can you hear me?" His eyes fluttered open. Barely. He tried to speak, but only a wheeze came out. "Heart, meds. Forgot." Jasmine pulled out her phone. 1 bar of signal, 8% battery. She dialed 911, and kinda. The call dropped. "Damn it!" She stood up and ran toward the gas station. "She!" burst through the door. The attendant looked up from behind the counter, annoyed. "Call an ambulance," Jasmine shouted. "Right now, he's dying out. There." The attendant rolled his eyes, but picked up the phone. Jasmine didn't. "Wait." She turned and scanned the shelves. Aspirin. She grabbed a bottle, then a bottle of water. She ran to the counter and slammed them down. "How much?" "950. Jasmine pulled out her wallet. Her hands were shaking so hard she almost dropped it. She pulled out the $10 bill and threw it on the counter. 9. The attendant handed her the change. 050. Jasmine grabbed the aspirin and water and ran back outside. She dropped to her knees beside the man again. She twisted, opened the aspirin bottle, shook out 2 tablets, and crushed them between her fingers. "Sir, listen to me. You need to chew these. It'll help your heart. Can you do that?" The man's eyes opened slightly. She pressed the crushed aspirin to his lips. He chewed weakly. She opened the water bottle and helped him drink. "Stay with me, okay? The ambulance is coming. Just stay with me." The man's hand reached up and gripped her wrist. His grip was weak, but it was there. "Thank you." Jasmine held his hand. Her tears fell onto his leather vest. "You're going to be okay. You hear me? You're going to be okay." In the distance, sirens wailed. Jasmine stayed there on the cold pavement, holding the hand of a stranger until the flashing red lights filled the parking lot. Jasmine got home past midnight. Redoshan, the paramedics had asked her questions, took her name, thanked her, then they loaded the biker into the ambulance and drove away. She climbed the stairs to her apartment, exhausted. Her hands still, smelled like aspirin and gasoline. Her knees ached from kneeling on the pavement. She checked on Ayana, still, asleep, still breathing steadily. Jasmine collapsed onto the pull-out couch and stared at the ceiling. She reached for her wallet and opened it. 50 seconds. That was all she had left. What did I just do? The next morning, Jasmine woke up to Ayana tugging on her arm. Mummy, I'm hungry." Jasmine opened her eyes. The apartment was cold. Grey morning light filtered through the thin curtains. She sat up slowly, her whole body aching. Ayana stood there in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "I know, baby. Let me see what we have." Jasmine walked to the kitchen and opened the cabinet. Empty. She opened the fridge. Nothing except an almost empty jar of peanut butter and half a stick of butter. Her stomach twisted. "There's nothing. I have nothing." She opened the freezer. A bag of frozen peas. That was it. Ayana climbed into her chair at the table, waiting. Jasmine turned around and forced a smile. "How about some peanut butter, sweetie?" "Okay." Jasmine scraped the last bit of peanut butter out of the jar and spread it on her fingers. She held them out to Ayana. "Here, baby, lick it off like a treat." Ayana licked the peanut butter off her mother's fingers, her little face scrunching up. "Can I have more?" "That's all we have right now, baby. I'm still hungry, Mummy." Jasmine's chest tightened. She knelt down in front of her daughter and took her hands. "I know, sweetie. I know you are. Just drink some water, okay? Mummy's going to get you something soon. I promise." She filled a glass with tap water and handed it to Ayana. Her daughter drank it, slowly, her eyes sad. "God, what have I done? My baby is hungry, and I have 50 cents. At 7:30 a.m. Jasmine walked Ayana to Mrs. Patterson's apartment. She didn't have the $5 she owed for this week. She didn't have anything. Mrs. Patterson opened the door and smiled at Ayana, but her smile faded when she looked at Jasmine. "Honey, you look terrible. Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Just a long night." Mrs. Patterson lowered her voice. "Jasmine, you don't look fine. And about this week's payment?" "I know. I'm sorry. I'll get it to you. I just need a few more days." Mrs. Patterson sighed. "It's okay. Don't worry about it right now. Just take care of yourself." Jasmine nodded. Too tired to argue. She kissed Ayana on the forehead. "Be good, baby." "Okay, Mommy." Jasmine left and walked down the stairs. Her feet dragged, her mind spun. "I need food. I need to feed my daughter. Where am I supposed to get food? She thought about the diner, Rosie's. Maybe Linda would let her take home some leftovers. Maybe. By the time Jasmine got to Rosie's diner, it was nearly 9:00 a.m. She wasn't supposed to work until 3:00 p.m., but she walked in anyway. Linda was wiping down tables. She looked up, surprised. "Jasmine, what are you doing here so early?" Jasmine's throat tightened. "Linda, I need to ask you something." Linda stopped wiping and walked over. "What's wrong? Do you have any leftover food? Anything? I just need something for my daughter. Please." Linda's face softened. She didn't ask questions. She just nodded. "Come with me." Linda led her to the back kitchen. She opened the walk-in fridge and pulled out a container of scrambled eggs, some toast, and a few strips of bacon from yesterday. "Here, take it." "Thank you. Thank you so much." "Don't mention it, honey." "But Jasmine, are you okay?" "Really?" Jasmine couldn't answer. She just nodded, grabbed the container, and left before Linda could see her cry. Jasmine walked home with the food clutched against her chest. Relief flooded through her. At least Diana can eat today. At least I have that. But when she turned onto her street, her relief vanished. A black SUV was parked in front of her building, and standing on the sidewalk, arms crossed, was Mrs. Thompson, the landlord. Mrs. Thompson was a white woman, in her 60s, heavy-set, with short grey hair and a permanent scowl. She wore a floral blouse and too much perfume. She looked mean because she was mean. Jasmine's stomach dropped. "No, not now. Please, not now." Mrs. Thompson saw her coming and stepped forward, her face hard. "Jasmine, Williams, we need to talk." Jasmine stopped a few feet away, still holding the container of food. "Mrs. Thompson, I know I'm late on rent. I'm working on it. I just need a few more days." "A few more days." Mrs. Thompson's voice was sharp, loud. "You're 3 weeks late. $300. Overdue. I gave you a final notice. That was 5 days ago. I know. I'm trying. Trying isn't paying the rent, is it?" Mrs. Thompson stepped closer, her eyes cold. "I've got people lined up who can actually pay. People who don't make excuses." Jasmine's hands tightened around the container. "Please, I have a daughter. I just need a little more time. Everyone has a sob story, Jasmine. I'm not a charity." Mrs. Thompson pulled a folded piece of paper from her purse and held it up. "This is an eviction notice. You have 72 hours. 3 days. If you don't pay by then, I'm calling the police and you're out." Jasmine's vision blurred. "You can't." "I can and I will." Mrs. Thompson shoved the paper into Jasmine's hand. 3 days. That's it. She turned and walked back to her SUV. The engine roared to life, and she drove off. Jasmine stood there on the sidewalk, frozen. The eviction notice crumpled in her hand. She looked around. Neighbors were watching. Mrs. Patterson stood in her doorway, her face sad. An older black man from across the hall shook his head and went back. Inside, a younger white woman with a stroller gave Jasmine a pitying look and quickly walked past. They all saw. They all heard. Jasmine felt the weight of their stares, the judgment, the pity. She walked inside, climbed the stairs, and locked herself in her apartment. She set the container of food on the counter and collapsed onto the couch. Number. The eviction notice sat on her lap. 72 hours, 3 days. Where am I supposed to get $300 in 3 days? Her hands were shaking. Her chest was tight. She couldn't breathe. I made the wrong choice. I should have kept that $10. I should have walked away. What was I thinking? Now my daughter is going to be homeless. We're going to lose everything. Tears streamed down her face. I saved a stranger, and now my baby is going to suffer for it. Jasmine buried her face in her hands and sobbed. She thought about the man at the gas station, the biker, Ryder, Morrison, Hell's Angel, dangerous, criminal. He's probably fine now, probably doesn't even remember me, probably doesn't care. And here I am about to lose my home. She looked at the container of food on the counter. At least Ayana would eat today. At least she had that. But tomorrow, the day after, Jasmine didn't know. She sat there for a long time staring at the eviction notice, trying to figure out how she was going to survive the next 72 hours. Please, God, please, I need a miracle. I need help. I can't do this alone anymore. But the apartment stayed quiet. The walls didn't answer. The world didn't care. Jasmine wiped her face, stood up, and walked to the window. She looked out at the street below. Grey, empty, cold. Maybe I made the wrong choice. Maybe kindness isn't enough. She didn't know anymore. Jasmine didn't sleep that night. 72 hours. 3 days. Where am I going to get $300? She thought about the man at the gas station, the biker. She wondered if he'd made it, if the aspirin had helped, if the paramedics got there in time. Probably doesn't even remember me. Around 300 AM, she finally drifted off into a restless sleep. Her dreams filled with eviction notices and empty refrigerators and Ayana's voice asking, "Mommy, I'm hungry." When her alarm went off at 4:47 AM, Jasmine woke up to a sound she didn't recognize. She sat up on the couch, disoriented. The sound was getting louder, closer. What is that? She stood up and walked to the window, pulled back the curtain, and froze. The street below was filled with motorcycles. Not just a few, dozens. No, more than that. They lined both sides of the street, stretching as far as she could see, chrome gleaming in the morning light. Black leather everywhere. Hell's Angels. Jasmine's breath caught in her throat. Oh my God, oh my God. Men sat on their bikes, engines idling, arms crossed. Big men, bearded, tattooed, vests covered in patches and skulls. There had to be at least 300 of them. Minus. Jasmine stepped back from the window, her whole body trembling. What did I do? What did I do? She ran to Ayana's room. Her daughter was still asleep, curled up under her blanket. Jasmine scooped her up. "Mommy!" Ayana's voice was groggy. "What's happening?" "Shh, baby. It's okay. Just stay with me." Jasmine carried her to the living room and sat down on the couch, holding Ayana tight against her chest. Her hands were shaking so hard she could barely hold on. "They came for me. They came because I helped him. Oh God, what are they going to do?" She heard footsteps in the hallway, doors opening, voices. Mrs. Patterson's voice sharp with fear. "Lord have mercy. What is this?" Another neighbor. "A man, call the police now. A woman, stay inside. Lock your doors." Jasmine peeked out the window again. Every neighbor on the street was doing the same thing, peeking through curtains, standing behind cracked doors, faces pale with fear. No one came outside. No one moved. The bikers just sat there silent, waiting. Jasmine's heart pounded so hard she thought it would burst out of her chest. What do they want? Why are they here? Ayana looked up at her, her little face confused and scared. "Mommy, who are those men?" "I don't know, baby. Just stay quiet, okay? Jasmine's mind raced. She thought about running, grabbing Ayana, and going out the back. But where would she go? She didn't have a car. She didn't have money. She didn't have anything. I'm trapped. We're trapped. And then one of the bikers moved. A man stepped off his motorcycle and walked to the front of the group. He was massive, at least 6'3", broad shoulders, thick arms, covered in tattoos, a grey beard, a black leather vest with patches. Jasmine's stomach dropped. It's him. Ryder Morrison, the man from the gas station, the man she'd saved. He was alive, walking, strong. He stopped in the middle of the street and looked up at her building. Straight at her window, Jasmine ducked back, her heart hammering. He knows where I live. Oh God, he knows. She heard Mrs. Patterson's voice again from the hallway, louder now, panicked. Someone call 911. They're going to kill us all. Another neighbor. I knew she was trouble. I knew it. Jasmine's hands tightened around Ayana. This is my fault. I brought this here. I did this. She heard a knock on her door. Jasmine jumped. Ayana whimpered. Another knock, harder this time. Miss Williams, a deep voice. Calm. It's Ryder Morrison. Can we talk? Jasmine didn't move. Didn't breathe. I'm not here to hurt you, the voice said. I promise. I just want to talk. Please. Jasmine sat there frozen, holding her daughter. What if he's lying? What if this is a trap? But then she thought about the gas station, the way he'd gripped her hand, the way he'd said thank you with tears in his eyes. He didn't seem dangerous then. He seemed human. Slowly, Jasmine stood up. She set Ayana down on the couch. Stay here, baby. Don't move. Mummy, stay here. Jasmine walked to the door. Her legs felt like jelly. She unlocked the deadbolt, her hand shaking, and opened the door just to crack. Ryder stood there. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't angry. He just looked at her with tired, grateful eyes. Miss Williams, I'm sorry to come here like this. I know it looks bad. What do you want? Jasmine's voice was barely a whisper. I want to thank you for what you did 2 nights ago. You saved my life. Jasmine swallowed hard. I didn't do anything. The paramedics. No. Ryder shook his head. You did everything. You gave me aspirin. You stayed with me. You didn't walk away when everyone else did. You used your last $10 to save me. Jasmine's eyes widened. How did you know? The paramedics told me. And the gas station attendant. I asked around. Ryder's voice softened. You gave your last $10. Money you needed for your daughter. I know what that means. Jasmine didn't say anything. She couldn't. Ryder stepped back. Can you come downstairs, please? There's something I need to show you. I don't. Please, just for a minute. I promise you're safe. I swear on my life. Jasmine looked back at Ayana, who was peeking around the corner of the couch, her eyes wide. What choice do I have? Okay, Jasmine whispered. Just let me get my daughter. She picked up Ayana and walked down the hallway. Other neighbors were peeking through their doors, watching. Mrs. Patterson grabbed her arm as she passed. Jasmine, don't. Go down there. Please, I have to. They're dangerous. I know. Jasmine pulled her arm free and kept walking. She stepped outside into the cold morning air. The street was silent, except for the low rumble of 300 motorcycle engines. Every single biker turned to look at her. Jasmine's knees nearly buckled. She held Ayana tighter. Ryder walked ahead of her and stopped in the middle of the street. He turned around and faced her. Miss Williams, you saved my life when no one else would, and I'm here with my brothers to say thank you." Ryder raised his hand. And then all at once, 300 bikers stood up from their motorcycles. They faced Jasmine, and every single one of them placed their right hand over their heart. The street went completely silent. Jasmine stood there holding Ayana, tears streaming down her face. "What is happening?" Ryder stepped forward. "We came here to make sure you never have to choose like that again." Ryder reached into his vest again and pulled out an envelope. He held it out to Jasmine. Jasmine stared at the envelope. Her hands were shaking. "What is this?" "Open it." Slowly, Jasmine took the envelope. She opened it. Inside was a check. She looked at the number. Her knees buckled. $50. 000. "That's from all of us," Ryder said. "By fair. Every brother and sister in this club contributed. It's not a loan. It's a gift for you and your daughter." Jasmine couldn't breathe. She looked at the check, then at Ryder, then at the 300 bikers standing silently in the street. "I can't. This is too much. I can't take this." "Yes, you can," Ryder said firmly. "You saved my life. Now let us save yours." Jasmine's legs gave out. She dropped to her knees, clutching the check, sobbing so hard her whole body shook. Ayana knelt down beside her. "Mommy, why are you crying?" "Because we're okay, baby," Jasmine whispered. "We're going to be okay." Ryder knelt down in front of her again. "There's more," he said. "We want to offer you a job. We're starting a foundation, Lily's Heart, to help families like yours. Single mothers, people working 3 jobs and still can't make it. People the system forgot. We want you to help us. Decide who gets help. You know what it's like. You've lived it." Jasmine looked up at him, her face soaked with tears. "Why me?" "Because you're the kind of person who gives her last $10 to save a stranger," Ryder said. "Because you're exactly who we need." Ryder reached into his vest and pulled out his phone. His hands were trembling. He tapped the screen a few times, then held it up for her to see. It was a photo, a little girl, maybe 3 years old, blonde hair, in pigtails, big blue eyes, a bright smile. She wore a pink dress and held a stuffed bunny. "This is my daughter," Ryder said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Her name was Lily." Jasmine felt her chest tighten. Ryder stared at the photo, tears streaming down his face. "She had leukemia, diagnosed when she was 2. I did everything I could. Everything. I worked 4 jobs, sold my house, borrowed money from everyone I knew, maxed out every credit card, begged the hospital for help." His voice cracked. "It wasn't enough. The treatments were too expensive. The insurance didn't cover it. I watched my little girl get sicker and sicker, and I couldn't do anything to stop it." Ryder wiped his face with the back of his hand, but the tears kept coming. "She died in my arms, 3 years old. She looked up at me and said, 'Daddy, will I be okay?' And I lied to her. I told her yes, but she wasn't okay. She died that night." Jasmine's own tears were falling now. She couldn't stop them. Ryder put the phone back in his pocket and looked up at Jasmine. "That was 5 years ago, and I've been carrying that guilt every single day since. I couldn't save her. I failed her, the one person I was supposed to protect, and I couldn't do it." He took a shaky breath. 2 nights ago, I forgot to take my heart medication on purpose. I was drinking a lot. I didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't want to keep living with the pain." Jasmine's hand flew to her mouth. "Oh my God, I was Waiting to die, Ryder said quietly. I wanted to die. And then you showed up. He looked at her with red, swollen eyes. You didn't know me. You didn't know who I was or what I'd done. You just saw a man who needed help, and you gave your last $10 to save me. $10 you needed to feed your daughter. Ryder's voice broke completely. You chose to save me when I didn't even want to be saved. You gave me a second chance I didn't deserve, and you did it because you're kind, because you're good, because you're everything I should have been for my daughter. He covered his face with his hands and sobbed. Jasmine stood there holding Ayanna, tears pouring down her cheeks. She didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do. Ayanna looked up at her mother, then at Ryder. The little girl wriggled out of Jasmine's arms, walked over to Ryder, and gently touched his shoulder. Don't cry, mister, Ayanna said softly. It's okay. Ryder looked up at her, his face wrecked with grief. Ayanna reached into her pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. One of her drawings. This is for your daughter, Ayanna said. So she's not lonely in heaven. It was a picture of an angel with wings and a heart. Ryder took the drawing with shaking hands. He stared at it for a long moment. Then he pulled Ayanna into a gentle hug and cried harder. Thank you, sweetheart. He whispered. Thank you. After a moment, Ryder stood up slowly. He wiped his face and turned to the 300 bikers standing behind him. These are my brothers, he said. Every single one of them has a story, like mine. A black man in his 52nds stepped forward. His name patch read, Jackson. I lost my son, Jackson said, his voice steady but sad. Overdose. I couldn't get him into rehab, couldn't afford it. He died alone in a motel room. Another biker stepped forward. A white man with a long beard. Tommy. I lost my wife, Tommy said. Cancer. We couldn't pay for the treatments. I watched her waste away. She was 38 years old. A younger man, maybe in his 32nds, stepped up next. Carlos. I lost my little brother. Carlos said he was diabetic, couldn't afford his insulin. He died because he was rationing it. 22 years old. One by one, more bikers stepped forward. A woman named Rachel. I lost my daughter. She had a heart condition. We couldn't afford the surgery. A man named Big Mike. I lost my dad. He needed dialysis, couldn't pay for it. He chose to die rather than bankrupt the family. Jasmine stood there listening, tears streaming down her face. These weren't criminals. These weren't dangerous men. These were people who had lost everything. People who had been broken by a system that didn't care. People who had been judged by their appearance just like she'd been judged for being poor. Ryder turned back to Jasmine. We all carry guilt, Miss Williams. Guilt for not being able to save the people we loved. And when I told my brothers what you did, that you gave your last $10 to save a stranger, they all wanted to come. They all wanted to meet the woman who still believes in kindness, who still believes in helping people, even when it costs her everything. His voice was strong now, clear. You saved my life, and you reminded me that there's still good in this world, that there are still people like you who choose love over fear. Behind him, all 300 bikers placed their hands over their hearts again, and then, one by one, they started their engines. The sound was deafening, a roar that shook the entire street. But it wasn't a threat. It was a salute, a thank you, a promise. Jasmine sat there on the cold pavement holding her daughter, holding the check, surrounded by 300 Hell's Angels who had just changed her life forever. And for the first time in years, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long, long time. Hope. 2 bikers stepped forward, carrying a large folder. Ryder took it and knelt back, down beside Jasmine. He opened the folder and pulled out a stack of papers. "This," he said, holding up the first. "Document is a job contract. The salary is $6,500 a year, full benefits health insurance. For you and your daughter, dental vision." Everything. Jasmine's hands flew to her mouth. $6,500. "You'll start as soon as you're ready." "No. Pressure. Take your time." He set the contract down and pulled out another set of papers. "This is a lease agreement for a 2-bedroom apartment in a safe neighborhood. Good schools nearby. Hi. We've already paid the rent for 2 years. Up front. You don't owe a cent." Jasmine couldn't speak. She couldn't breathe. Ryder reached into the folder again and pulled out a set of car keys. He held them up. "This is yours," he pointed to. "The street." Jasmine turned her head. Parked at the end of the row of motorcycles was a brand new Honda CR-V, silver shining in the morning light. A big red bow sat on the hood. "It's registered in your name. Insurance paid. For the year. You'll never have to walk 5 miles to work again." Jasmine's whole body started shaking. Tears poured down her face. She couldn't stop them. I don't understand. This is too much." "No," Ryder said firmly. "It's not enough. You gave everything you had to. Save me. Now, let us give back." He pulled out one more piece of paper. A medical insurance card. "This is lifetime health coverage for you and Ayana. You'll never have to worry about paying for an inhaler again or doctor visits or prescriptions. It's covered. All of it." Jasmine looked at the card, at the contract, at the car keys, at the check for $50. Zero. Her mind couldn't process it. It was too much, too big, too impossible. "Why?" she whispered. "Why are you doing this?" Ryder's eyes filled with tears again. "Because you're the kind of person this world needs more of. Because you chose kindness when no one else would. And because if I can't save my daughter, and the least I can do is make sure you never lose yours." Jasmine covered her face with her hands and sobbed. Ayana wrapped her little arms around her mother. "Mommy, don't cry. It's okay. We're okay now." Ryder stood up and whistled sharply. 20 bikers moved forward, their motorcycles rumbling. But these bikers weren't just carrying leather and chrome. They were carrying bags, boxes, packages. "We didn't forget about your little girl," Ryder said, smiling for the first time. One by one, the biker set the items down on the sidewalk in front of Jasmine. Grocery bags, at least 10 of them, packed with food, bread, milk, eggs, cereal, fresh fruit, vegetables, meat, pasta, canned goods, enough to fill a pantry for months. Boxes of clothes, new clothes. Jasmine could see the tags still on them. Jeans, shirts, a winter coat, and smaller boxes. Kids, clothes, dresses, shoes, a brand new pair of sneakers in Ayana's size, toys, a stuffed bunny, coloring, books, crayons, puzzles, a doll with curly hair that looked just like Ayana, books, picture books, chapter books, a backpack filled with school supplies, and then one biker, Jackson, the man who'd lost his son, stepped forward, carrying a small box. He knelt down in front of Ayana and opened it. Inside was a silver necklace with a heart-shaped pendant. "This was my son's," Jackson said quietly. "He wore it every day. I want you to have it, little one, to remind you that you're loved. Ayana's eyes went wide. For me? For you? Jackson gently clasped the necklace around her neck. Ayana looked down at it, then threw her arms around Jackson's neck. Thank you. Jackson's eyes filled with tears. He hugged her back. You're welcome, sweetheart. The neighbors, who had been hiding behind their doors, started stepping outside slowly at first. Cautiously, Mrs. Patterson came down from her apartment, her hand over her heart, tears streaming down her face. She walked up to Jasmine and pulled her into a tight hug. Oh, honey, oh, my sweet girl, you deserve this. You deserve all of this. Other neighbors gathered around. Some were crying. Some were smiling. Even the ones who had been scared, who had judged, who had whispered, they were watching now with something like awe. Mrs. Thompson, the landlord, stood at the edge of the crowd. Her face was pale. Her arms were crossed. She didn't say anything. She just stared. Ryder noticed her. He walked over. You're the landlord, aren't you? Mrs. Thompson nodded stiffly. The one who was about to evict Miss Williams. She didn't answer. Ryder's voice was calm but firm. She doesn't owe you anything anymore. Consider her debt paid, and if you ever threaten her again, you'll have 300 of us to answer to. Understood? Mrs. Thompson's face went red. She turned and walked away without a word. Jasmine stood up slowly, still holding the check, the contract, the keys. She looked at Ryder. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I don't know how to thank you. Ryder smiled. You already did 2 nights ago. At that gas station. You saved my life, Miss Williams. Now go live yours. He stepped back and raised his hand. All 300 bikers stood up from their motorcycles again. They placed their hands over their hearts one more time, and then in unison, they started their engines. The sound was deafening, a roar that echoed down the entire street. But this time, Jasmine wasn't afraid. She stood there holding Ayana's hand, watching as the motorcycles slowly pulled away, one by one, rolling down the street in a long, powerful line. Ryder was the last to leave. He gave Jasmine a small nod, then climbed onto his bike. Before he rode off, he called out to her, Miss Williams. Jasmine looked up. Kindness is never wasted. Remember that. And then he was gone. Jasmine stood there on the sidewalk, surrounded by bags of food, boxes of clothes, toys, and gifts. The check, still in her hand, the keys to a brand new car, a job, a home, a future. Ayana tugged on her sleeve. Mommy, are we rich now? Jasmine laughed through her tears. She knelt down and pulled her daughter into her arms. No, baby, we're not rich, but we're blessed. We're so blessed. She looked up at the sky, at the morning sun breaking through the clouds. Thank you, God. Thank you. For the first time in years, Jasmine Williams didn't have to worry about where the next meal would come from, or how she'd pay rent, or whether her daughter would have medicine. For the first time in years, she could breathe. And it all started with $10 and a choice to help a stranger. By noon, the video was everywhere. Someone had filmed the entire thing. 300 motorcycles, Ryder, kneeling, the check, the gifts, the salute. It was posted on Facebook first, then Twitter, then TikTok, then Instagram. Within 24 hours, the video had 10 million views, and the comments started pouring in. Jasmine sat on her couch that night, scrolling through her phone. Ayana was asleep in the bedroom, clutching her new stuffed bunny. At first, the comments were beautiful. faith in humanity restored. This made me cry. We need more people like her. Hell's Angels showing the world what real brotherhood looks like. But then the tone shifted. This is fake. No way. This is real. Hell's Angels are a criminal organization. This is money laundering. What did she do to get $150? Nobody just gives that kind of money. Jasmine's stomach twisted. She kept scrolling. She's probably sleeping with them. That's the only reason they'd help her. This is disgusting. Glorifying a gang. Hell's Angels are drug dealers and murderers. This is propaganda. I bet she set this whole thing up for clout. Jasmine's hands started shaking. She put the phone down, but she couldn't stop, thinking about the words. They think I'm lying. They think I'm a criminal. They think I'm dirty. The next morning, it got worse. A local news station picked up the story. They aired a segment titled Hell's Angels Give $5,000 to Detroit Woman Charity or Crime. Jasmine watched it from her couch, her heart sinking. The anchor, a white woman, in her 40 seconds with perfectly styled hair, spoke into the camera. A viral video shows members of the Hell's Angels motorcycle club giving $5,000 to a single mother in Detroit. But many are questioning the legitimacy of the so-called gift. Is this genuine charity, or is this organization using a struggling woman as a front for something more sinister? They cut to an interview with a man identified as a criminal justice expert. Hell's Angels have a long history of illegal activity, the man said. Drug trafficking, money laundering, violent crimes. It's not uncommon for organizations like this to use charity as a cover for illicit operations. Jasmine felt sick. The news segment ended with a question. What do you think is this heartwarming or suspicious vote in our poll? Jasmine turned off the TV. Her phone started ringing. Unknown numbers. Over and over, she answered the first one. Hello, you should be ashamed of yourself. A woman's voice hissed. Taking money from criminals. What kind of mother are you? Click. Jasmine stared at the phone, her hands trembling. It rang again. She didn't answer. It rang again and again and again. Text messages flooded in. You're a disgrace. Give the money back. You're going to hell. I know where you live. That last one made her blood run cold. Jasmine turned off her phone. 2 days later, a group of local residents organized a protest. About 30 people gathered outside the building where Lily's Heart Foundation was setting up their office. They carried signs. Hell's Angels equals sign criminals. No gangs in our neighborhood. Dirty money doesn't help anyone. A white man in his 50 seconds with a bullhorn shouted into the crowd. We don't want this organization in our community. Hell's Angels are a menace. They deal drugs. They commit violence. We will not stand for this. The crowd cheered. Jasmine watched the footage on the news from her apartment. She felt like she was going to throw up. This is my fault. I brought this on them, on Ryder, on everyone. And then Mrs. Thompson appeared on TV. The same news station that had questioned the donation invited her on for an interview. Mrs. Thompson sat in the studio, her arms crossed her face, smug. So, you were Miss Williams' landlord? The anchor asked. That's right. And let me tell you, that woman owed me $300 in rent. 300? She was about to be evicted. And now, suddenly, she's got $50, 000 from a biker gang. Do you find that suspicious? Of course I do. She couldn't pay me $300, but she's got 50,000 now. Something's not right. I Think people need to ask questions. What kind of questions? Mrs. Thompson leaned forward. What did she do to get that money? Because nobody just hands out $50, 000 for free. Nobody. The anchor nodded. Seriously, that's a fair point. Jasmine turned off the TV and buried her face in her hands. The doxing started. That night, someone posted Jasmine's address online, her phone number, her social media accounts. The messages came in waves. Threats, accusations, slurs. You deserve to rot. Give the money back, or we'll make you. Jasmine sat on the couch, staring at her phone, tears streaming down her face. Ayana walked out of her bedroom, rubbing her eyes. Mommy, why are you crying? Jasmine quickly wiped her face. I'm okay, baby. Go back to bed. Are the mean people making you sad again? Jasmine's heart broke. No, sweetie. I'm fine. I promise. But she wasn't fine. She was drowning. The next day, Jasmine called Ryder. I can't do this, she said, her voice shaking. I can't take the money. I can't take the job. I can't. This is too much. People think I'm a criminal. They think you're using me. They're threatening me. They're saying horrible things about my daughter. I can't. Miss Williams, I want to give it all back. Please, just take it back. I don't want it anymore. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then Ryder spoke, his voice calm but firm. No. What? I said no. You're not giving it back. But people hate me. People hated me, too. People hated all of us. That's what people do. They judge. They assume. They fear what they don't understand. But that doesn't make them right. Jasmine's voice cracked. I just wanted to help you. I didn't want this. I know. And that's exactly why you deserve everything we gave you. Because you didn't do it for recognition. You didn't do it for money. You did it because it was the right thing to do. But listen to me, Miss Williams. The world is full of people who will try to tear you down, people who will judge you, attack you, make you feel small, but you can't let them win. You can't give them that power. Jasmine closed her eyes, tears spilling down her cheeks. You saved my life, Ryder continued, and now I'm asking you to save your own. Don't let them take this from you. Don't let them make you feel ashamed for accepting help. You deserve this. Your daughter deserves this. Don't you dare give it back. Jasmine sat there in silence, holding the phone to her ear, her whole body shaking. Okay, she whispered. Good. Now, turn off social media. Stop reading the comments. And remember, you didn't do anything wrong. You just chose kindness. And the people who can't see that's their problem, not yours. After the call ended, Jasmine sat on the couch for a long time. She looked at Ayana, who was playing with her new toys on the floor, completely oblivious to the storm raging outside. She deserves better. She deserves a future, and I can't let strangers take that away from her. Jasmine picked up her phone. She opened Twitter one last time, and then she deleted the app. She deleted Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of it. She put the phone down and took a deep breath. Let them talk. Let them judge. I know the truth, and that's enough. 3 weeks later, everything changed again. A journalist named Sarah Mitchell reached out to Jasmine. Sarah was a white woman in her late 30s, an investigative reporter for a respected independent news outlet. She'd been following the story closely, and something about it didn't sit right with her. Not the donation, the backlash. Miss Williams, Sarah said over the phone, I'd like to do a real investigation, not a hit, Peace, not a fluff story. The truth. Would you be willing to talk to me? Jasmine hesitated. I don't know. Every time I talk to the media, it gets worse. I'm not interested in making things worse. I'm interested in facts, and I think the facts will vindicate you. Jasmine thought about it for a long moment. Okay, but only if you talk to Ryder and his brothers too. They deserve to have their voices heard. I was planning on it. Sarah Mitchell spent the next month doing what real journalists do, investigating. She didn't rely on social media gossip or inflammatory headlines. She went straight to the source. She interviewed Ryder. She interviewed Jackson, Tommy, Carlos, Rachel, Big Mike. She sat down with 50 families that Hell's Angels had helped over the past 5 years. A veteran in his 60 seconds, white, missing his left leg. They paid for my prosthetic when the VA wouldn't cover it. I can walk again because of them. A widow, black in her, 50 seconds, raising 3 grandkids alone. My husband died and I couldn't pay the mortgage. They paid it off. My grandkids still have a home. A young man, white in his 20 seconds, recovering from addiction. They got me into rehab, paid for the whole thing. I've been clean for 2 years now. One after another, the stories poured in. Real people, real lives, real impact. Sarah documented everything. Next, she requested financial records from Lily's Heart Foundation. Ryder handed them over willingly. We've got nothing to hide. Sarah spent days going through the documents, bank statements, donation receipts, expense reports, every dollar accounted for. She cross-referenced everything with independent auditors. The results were clear. Lily's Heart was 100% legitimate. No money laundering, no illegal activity, just a group of people pooling their resources to help others. In 5 years, they'd helped over 500 families, paid medical bills, prevented evictions, funded rehab programs, bought groceries, covered funerals. Sarah compiled it all into a spreadsheet. The numbers didn't lie. Then she went to the gas station. She tracked down the attendant who'd been working that night, the one who told Jasmine not to get involved. His name was Brian, white guy, early 30 seconds, still working the same job. Sarah sat down with him at a diner. She pulled out a recorder. Tell me what happened that night. Brian shifted uncomfortably. Look, I'm not proud of what I said. What did you say? I told her to leave him alone. I told her Hell's Angels were trouble. I didn't want to get involved, so I told her not to either. And what did she do? Brian looked down at his coffee. She didn't listen. She ran inside, bought aspirin and water with her last $10. I remember because she pulled out her wallet and it was almost empty. Just a $10 bill. She used it, all to save that guy. You saw the money? Yeah. I rang her up. $950. She gave me the 10 and took the 50 cents. Change. That was it. That was all she had. Sarah leaned forward. So, she wasn't faking it. She really gave her last $10. Brian nodded. She really did. And I was wrong to tell her not to help. I've been thinking about that every day, since. She's a hero, and I was a coward. Sarah's next move was the security footage. She contacted the gas station's owner and requested the surveillance video from that night. It took some convincing, but eventually he agreed. The footage was grainy, but clear. Enough. It showed Jasmine walking through the parking lot, stopping, seeing Ryder collapse, running inside, grabbing aspirin in water, paying, running back outside, kneeling beside him, staying with him until the ambulance arrived. Every second of it was on camera. Sarah obtained a copy and included it in her report. 2 months after the initial backlash, Sarah Mitchell published her investigation. The article was titled "The Truth About Jasmine Williams and Hell's Angels: How Kindness Was Judged and Why We Got It Wrong." It was thorough, detailed, fact-checked. It included interviews, financial records, security footage, and statements from dozens of people. Resintes, the article went viral. Within 48 hours, it had been shared over 1 million times. News outlets that had previously questioned the donation now issued corrections, apologies, follow-up, stories, and the comments started to shift. "I was wrong. I judged too. Quickly. This woman is a hero. We should be celebrating her, not tearing her down. Hell's Angels aren't what I thought they were. This is real charity. I'm ashamed. I believe the lies." Brian, the gas station attendant, posted a video on social media. He sat in front of his phone camera, looking tired and guilty. "My name is Brian, and I was working at the gas station the night Jasmine Williams saved Ryder Morrison's life. I want to say something I should have said a long time ago. I was wrong. I told her not to help. I called Hell's Angels trouble. I didn't do anything while a man was dying. But she did. She didn't hesitate. She gave her last $10 to save a stranger. She's not a criminal. She's not a con artist. She's a hero. And I'm sorry it took me this long to say it." The video got 3 million views. Then, the bikers started sharing their own stories. Ryder posted a photo of Lily on his Facebook page, along with a long caption. "This is my daughter. Her name was Lily. She died 5 years ago because I couldn't afford to save her. I've carried that guilt every day since. Months ago, I forgot to take my heart medication. I wanted to die. And then Jasmine Williams, a stranger, saved my life with her last $10. She didn't know me. She didn't judge me. She just helped." That's what Lily's heart is about, helping people who've been forgotten. If you have a problem with that, you have a problem with kindness. The post went viral. Thousands of people shared it. Jackson posted about his son. Tommy posted about his wife. Carlos posted about his brother. Rachel posted about her daughter. One by one, all 300 bikers shared their stories. The hashtag Lily's Truth started trending. Within a week, it was the #1 trending topic on Twitter. Mrs. Thompson, the landlord, tried to do damage control. She posted a statement on Facebook. "I was misunderstood. I never meant to imply Miss Williams did anything wrong." And the comments tore her apart. "You went on TV and called her suspicious. Own it. You were about to evict a single mother. You're the villain here. Too late for apologies." Mrs. Thompson deleted her Facebook account 2 days later. The local residents who had protested Lily's heart issued a public apology. The man with the bullhorn, whose name was Greg, posted a video. "I was wrong. I protested Hell's Angels because I believed the stereotypes. I didn't do my research. I didn't listen to the facts. Lily's heart is doing real good in this community, and I'm sorry I tried to stop it." One evening, Jasmine got a call from Sarah Mitchell. "Miss Williams, I just wanted to let you know my article's been nominated for a journalism award. But, more importantly, public opinion has completely turned around. People see the truth now. You and Ryder and Hell's Angels, you've been vindicated." Jasmine sat down on her couch, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for believing me." "I didn't believe you," Sarah said gently. "I believed the facts." And the facts showed that you're exactly who you said you were, a good person who made a hard choice. That night, Jasmine sat down with Ayana and opened her journal, the one her grandmother had given her. She wrote, 3 things I'm grateful for today. 1, the truth finally came out. 2, people are starting to see Ryder and his brothers for who they really are. 3, kindness. 1. She closed the journal and smiled. See, for the first time in 2 months, she felt like she could breathe again. 6 months later, everything had changed. Lily's Heart Foundation wasn't just an idea anymore. It was real, it was growing, and it was making a difference. Jasmine stood in front of the newly opened Detroit headquarters, staring up at the sign above the door. Bold letters, Lily's Heart Foundation, Detroit chapter. Ryder stood beside her, his arms crossed, a proud smile on his face. We did it, he said. You did it, Jasmine corrected. No, we did it together, Jasmine smiled. He was right. In 6 months, Lily's Heart had opened 5 full-service centers: Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Houston, each one staffed with case managers, volunteers, and people who understood what it meant to struggle. And Jasmine was now the director of community outreach. Her job was simple: find the families who needed help the most, listen to their stories, connect them with resources, make sure no one fell through the cracks. She was good at it because she'd been there. She knew what it felt like to have nothing, to be invisible, to feel like the world had forgotten you. The numbers spoke for themselves. In 6 months, Lily's Heart had helped over 2,000 families, paid medical bills for people who couldn't afford treatment, covered rent for families facing eviction, funded scholarships for kids who wanted to go to college but had no money, bought groceries for single parents working 3 jobs. Jasmine kept a board in her office with photos of every family they'd helped, faces, names, stories. A single mother in Chicago whose son needed surgery. Lily's Heart paid for it. The boy was healthy now, a veteran in Atlanta who'd been living in his car. Lily's Heart gave him housing and job training. He had an apartment now, a steady income. An elderly couple in Philadelphia about to lose their home. Lily's Heart paid off their mortgage. They got to stay. Every face on that board reminded Jasmine why she was doing this. Because someone helped me when I had nothing. Now I get to help others. 3 months after the Detroit headquarters opened, the city announced something special. A new community center was being built in Jasmine's old neighborhood, a place where families could get job training, free childcare, meals, medical screenings, and counseling. At the groundbreaking ceremony, the mayor stood at a podium in front of a crowd of hundreds. This center represents hope, the mayor said. Hope for families who've been overlooked. Hope for a community that refuses to give up. And it's named after a woman who embodies that hope. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to announce the opening of Williams House. The crowd erupted in applause. Jasmine stood in the front row, her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Ryder leaned over and whispered, "You earned this." Ayana, standing beside her, mother tugged on her sleeve. "Mommy, they named a house after you." Jasmine knelt down and hugged her daughter tight. "They did, baby. Does that mean you're famous?" Jasmine laughed through her tears. "No, baby. It means we get to help a lot of people." Williams House opened 2 months later. It was beautiful, bright, welcoming. 3 stories tall with classrooms, offices, a kitchen, a medical clinic, a daycare, center, and a library. On opening day, over 500 people showed up. Families lined up outside, waiting to register for programs, job training, GED classes, parenting workshops, free health screenings. Jasmine walked through the building, shaking hands, hugging people, listening to their stories. A young woman, black, maybe 22, approached her, nervously. "M. Williams, my name is Tasha. I just wanted to say thank you. I heard about what you did, and because of you, I applied for help. Lily's Heart paid for my nursing school tuition. I start classes next month." Jasmine's eyes filled with tears. "That's amazing, Tasha. I'm so proud of you. I wouldn't be here without you." Jasmine shook her head. "Yes, you would. You just needed someone to believe in you. Now go out there and help people. Pass it on." Tasha nodded, tears in her eyes. "I will. I promise." One of the most impactful programs Lily's Heart launched was called Second Chance. It focused on helping people whose society had written off. Ex-convicts, recovering addicts, homeless individuals. Ryder had insisted on it. "People told me I'd never amount to anything," he said during a staff meeting. "They saw the vest, the tattoos, the record. They judged me before they knew me. We can't do that to others. Everyone deserves a second chance." The program provided job training, housing, assistance, counseling, and mentorship. Within 6 months, Second Chance had helped over 300 people get back on their feet. Jasmine met a man named Marcus through the program. He was white, mid-30s, with a prison record for drug possession. He'd been clean for a year, but couldn't find work because of his background. Lily's Heart helped him get certified as a mechanic, found him a job at a local auto shop, helped him rent an apartment. 6 months later, Marcus came back to thank Jasmine. "I've got a job. I've got a place. I've got a future. I thought my life was over, but you gave me a second chance." Jasmine smiled. "You gave yourself a second chance. We just opened the door." And then there was Ayana. Jasmine's daughter was thriving. She attended a good school now, a safe school, a school with art classes and music programs and teachers who cared. Her asthma was under control. She had her inhaler. She saw a doctor regularly. She was healthy, happy. She wore the silver heart necklace Jackson had given her every single day. One evening, Ayana came home from school with a drawing. She handed it to Jasmine. "I made this for you, Mummy." It was a picture of 2 stick figures holding hands, one tall, one small. Above them the words, "My mummy is a hero." Jasmine's throat tightened. She pulled Ayana into a hug. "I'm not a hero, baby." "Yes, you are. You help people. That's what heroes do." Jasmine held her daughter close, tears streaming down her face. "She's right. Maybe I am a hero, not because of what I did, but because of what I chose to do. I chose kindness, and it changed everything." At the end of the 6-month mark, Lily's Heart held a celebration at Williams' house. The building was packed. Families they'd helped, volunteers, donors, media, local, politicians. Jasmine stood at the front of the room, looking out at the crowd. Ryder stood beside her. Ayana sat in the front row, swinging her legs, smiling. Jasmine took a deep breath and spoke into the microphone. 6 months ago, I had $10 to my name. I was about to be evicted. My daughter was hungry. I didn't know how I was going to survive the next day. And then I made a choice. I chose to help a stranger. And that stranger, she looked at Ryder, changed my life. The crowd applauded. "But this isn't about me," Jasmine continued. "This is about all of us. This is about what happens when we choose kindness over fear, when we choose compassion over judgment, when we choose to see people for who they are, not what they look like. She paused, her voice strong. Lily's Heart has helped 2,000 families in 6 months. 2,000. That's 2,000 people who didn't give up. 2,000 people who got a second chance. 2,000 reasons to believe that kindness matters. The applause was deafening. Jasmine smiled, tears in her eyes. One small act can change everything. I used to think I was just surviving, but now I know I was always meant to help others survive too. And so are you. Every single person in this room has the power to change someone's life. You just have to choose to do it. The crowd stood and cheered. Ayana ran up to the stage and hugged her. Mother. Ryder stepped forward and placed a hand on Jasmine's shoulder. Thank you, he said quietly, for saving my life and for reminding me why I'm still here. Jasmine smiled. Thank you for giving me a reason to keep going. And in that moment, surrounded by people whose lives had been changed by one act of kindness, Jasmine Williams knew one thing for certain. She had made the right choice, and she would keep making it every single day for the rest of her life. 1 year after that night at the gas station, Williams' house hosted an anniversary celebration. The building was packed. Over 1,000 people filled the main hall, spilling out into the courtyard. Families who'd been helped, volunteers, donors, Hells Angels members in their leather vests, city officials, media crews. Jasmine stood backstage, her heart pounding. Ayana stood beside her wearing a new dress and the silver heart necklace. You ready, Mummy? Jasmine took a deep breath. I think so, baby. Ryder walked over smiling. You're going to be great. I'm nervous. Good. That means it matters. The announcer's voice boomed through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Director of Community Outreach for Lily's Heart Foundation, Jasmine Williams. The crowd erupted in applause. Jasmine walked onto the stage, and the applause grew louder. People stood, cheered, some were crying. She stepped up to the microphone, her hands shaking slightly. Thank you, she said, her voice steady. Thank you all for being here. The applause quieted. Jasmine looked out at the crowd, a sea of faces, people whose lives had been touched by kindness. 1 year ago, she began, I had $10 to my name. $10. That was all that stood between my daughter eating breakfast and going hungry. And then I saw a man dying in a gas station parking lot. A stranger, a Hell's Angel, someone people told me to stay away from. She paused, her voice strong. I had a choice. Keep the money and feed my daughter, or use it to save his life, and I chose to save him. The crowd was silent, listening. People ask me all the time, do you regret it? Do you wish you'd kept the money? Jasmine shook her head. No, because that choice didn't just save his life, it saved mine too. It reminded me that kindness is never wasted, that compassion is never wrong, that helping someone, even when it costs you everything, is always the right choice. The applause started again, but Jasmine raised her hand. But this isn't about me. This is about all of us. This is about what happens when one act of kindness creates a ripple. That $10 turned into 50. 0, 0, 0. That 50, 0, 0, 0 turned into Lily's heart. And Lily's Heart has helped over 2,000 families in 1 year. She smiled, tears in her eyes. That's 2,000 ripples, 2,000 lives changed, 2,000 reasons to believe that kindness creates more kindness. And it all started with one choice. The crowd stood and applauded. The sound was deafening. Jasmine wiped her eyes and smiled. After the speech, people swarmed her, handshakes, hugs, thank yous. A young white woman in her early 20s approached, tears streaming down her face. "Miss Williams, my name is Emily." Jasmine smiled. "Hi, Emily. I don't know if you remember, but 6 months ago, Lily's heart helped my mom. She had stage 3 breast cancer. We couldn't afford the treatment. My dad had already maxed out credit card, sold everything. We were out of options." Jasmine's chest tightened. She remembered she'd personally reviewed the case. "Your mom, Linda?" Emily nodded, crying harder. "Yes, you paid for her treatment, all of it. And she's in remission now. The doctors say she's going to be okay." Jasmine's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, Emily, that's wonderful." "She's here," Emily said, turning. "Mom, come here." A woman in her 50s, white with short hair and a bright smile, walked over. She pulled Jasmine into a tight hug. "Thank you," Linda whispered. "Thank you for saving my life." Jasmine hugged her back. "You're so welcome." Emily wiped her face. "Miss Williams, I wanted you to know I'm volunteering now at the Detroit Center. I'm helping other families like mine because you helped us, and I want to pass it on." Jasmine smiled through her tears. "That's exactly what we need. Thank you, Emily." The celebration went late into the evening. By the time it ended, Jasmine was exhausted, but happy. She and Ayana walked to the parking lot where her Honda CR-V was parked, the same car Hells Angels had given her a year ago. As they drove home, Jasmine took a different route. She didn't know why. She just felt like she should. They passed through a quiet neighborhood and Jasmine saw something that made her slow down. A young man, white, maybe 23, sitting on the curb next to a beat-up car. His head was in his hands. The hood of the car was open, steam rising from the engine. Jasmine pulled over. "Mommy, what are you doing?" Ayana asked. "Just checking on someone, baby." Jasmine got out of the car and walked over. The young man looked up, his face streaked with tears. "Hey," Jasmine said gently. "You okay?" The young man shook his head. "No. My car broke down. I don't have money for a tow. I'm supposed to pick up my kid from daycare in 20 minutes. And his voice cracked, "I don't know what to do." Jasmine's heart ached. She knew that feeling, that desperation. She reached into her purse and pulled out her wallet. She opened it and took out a $50 bill. "Here," she said, holding it out. The young man stared at the money. "What?" "No, I can't." "Yes, you can," Jasmine said firmly. "Get your car towed. Get your son. I don't even know you. You don't have to." "Bah." The young man took the money, his hands shaking. "I thank you. I don't know how to." Jasmine pulled out a card from her wallet, a Lily's Heart Foundation business card. She handed it to him. "When you're back on your feet, help someone else. Pass it on. That's all I ask." The young man stared at the card, tears streaming down his face. "I won't forget this. I swear I won't forget." Jasmine smiled. "I know you won't." She walked back to her car and got in. Ayana looked at her wide-eyed. "Mummy, you just gave that man money." "I did." "Why?" "Because he needed help, baby. And we have enough to share." Ayana thought about it for a moment. Then she smiled. "You're a hero, Mummy." Jasmine laughed softly. "No, baby. I'm just someone who remembers what it's like to need help." As they drove home, Jasmine opened her wallet at a red light. She looked inside, and there it was, a single $10 bill. Crisp, new, folded neatly in a separate compartment. It wasn't the original $10 that was long gone, but Jasmine had kept a $10 bill in her wallet ever since that night. A reminder of the choice she'd made, the choice that had changed everything. She ran her thumb over the bill and smiled. $10. That's all it took. $10 in a choice to help a stranger. She thought about the young man she'd just helped, about Emily volunteering at the center, about the 2,000 families Lily's heart had helped, about Ayana healthy and happy in the seat beside her. Kindness creates kindness, and the cycle never stops. When they got home, Jasmine tucked Ayana into bed. Her daughter hugged her tight. "I love you, Mommy. I love you too, baby. Are we going to help more people tomorrow?" Jasmine smiled. "Yes, we are." "Good. Because that's what heroes do." Jasmine kissed her forehead. "That's what kind people do. And you, my sweet girl, are the kindest person I know." Ayana smiled and closed her eyes. Later that night, Jasmine sat on her couch, not a pull-out couch anymore, but a real couch, in a real apartment in a safe neighborhood, and opened her journal, the same journal her grandmother had given her all those years ago. She turned to a blank page and wrote, 3 things I'm grateful for today. 1. I get to help people every single day. 2. Ayana is healthy, happy, and kind. 3. 1 year ago, I made a choice, and that choice gave me a life I never thought I'd have. She paused, then added, 1 more line, kindness is never wasted. It just takes time to grow. She closed the journal and set it down. Then she pulled out her wallet and looked at the $10 bill one more time. This is where it all started, with $10 and a choice to help a stranger. She smiled, folded the bill, and put it back in her wallet. Tomorrow, she'd wake up and do it all over again. Help more families, tell more stories, pass on more kindness, because that's what her grandmother taught her. Kindness costs nothing, baby, and sometimes it's all we got to give. But Jasmine knew now, it wasn't just all she had. It was everything. 1 year later, the young man Jasmine helped that night walked into the Detroit Lily's Heart Center. He was clean-cut now, dressed in a work uniform, carrying a donation envelope. He asked to speak to Jasmine. When she came out to the lobby, he smiled. "Miss Williams, I don't know if you remember me. You helped me a year ago. My car broke down. You gave me $50 in this card." Jasmine's eyes widened. "I remember." He handed her the envelope. "I got a job. I'm stable now and I want to give back. It's not much, but it's what I can afford." Jasmine opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $500. Her eyes filled with tears. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes, I did." The young man said, "You told me to pass it on." "So I am." Jasmine hugged him. "Thank you. This will help so many people." "I know," he said, "because it helped me." And as he walked out of the center, Jasmine stood there holding the check, smiling through her tears. Kindness creates kindness. The cycle never stops, and she would spend the rest of her life making sure it never did. Is greater than is greater than. Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.